Mercy triumphs over judgment.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy
Monday.
Monday, and welcome to Mercy Over Judgment. Mom Talk.
We here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy MLK Day. Yes, we here. This light is blinding my eye, but
It
we
really
here.
is. But we are here. Yes. So it being Martin Luther King Day, so much to celebrate, and a very, close to home topic. Many of you can relate to. But yeah, I just found it funny that it is MLK Day.
Are y'all home or you at work? Come on through. And I hope we see the comments will appear here. I hope we see the comments. We haven't been seeing your comments.
Yeah,
during
until
the
after.
live.
Until after. So don't think we're ignoring you. It's just some sort of glitch we're having here.
Which I hope has worked out. Because today, we need to hear from you.
We need your feedback. We need to hear of your experiences. And honestly, they can be such isolating experiences while you're going through it.
But before we get there, it's MLK Day. It is Martin Luther King Day. Yes. And for some reason, last night when I was thinking about, am I going to go see clients today? Am I going to go into my office today? Because my office was just open. Because I'm going to let you know, they don't really respect this holiday. This holiday is not really respected. Some people have off. Some people don't.
Yep.
At least the schools are closed.
Yep.
Yay. I think it's a federal. I think the post office is closed.
Yeah,
and,
but I don't think it's everywhere.
everywhere is not. It's not equal, and it's a bit annoying. 'Cause when I thought about it, I said, everything this man has sacrificed. Literally, he sacrificed what it must be, what it must have been for Coretta to never see him. She was basically a single mother. And I remember when Michelle Obama slipped and said she was a single mother because she was basically raising these kids
He's
alone.
running the country. She got to handle home. It
And
is what
he's
it is.
always out and out and out. And y'all could be mad at Melania, but I'm with Melania because, listen, I didn't marry you knowing you was going to be no president all over the place and I was going to have to smile and wave at all these people and go here and there. I just wanted to marry somebody rich and do my shopping. That's all Melania wanted. She did not want all of this. And just because I marry you and that's your dream, ain't got nothing to do with me. But that's Melania. I know that is what. You see her face. She don't want to
Yeah.
go. She wants to have
I'm here
nothing to do with this nonsense. Okay, but my girl Coretta and Michelle, my girl Coretta was like, listen, whatever he wants to do, I'm gonna follow him. I'm gonna support him. He sacrificed his family. He sacrificed his literally sacrifices his life and dies and does. He was assassinated. He was killed. He was murdered for his dream. Then she takes up the cause and is like, no, y'all are gonna honor and respect this man for what he did. Almost 20 years. I was led to figure this out and look this up. How long? Because I remember it was a struggle. I remember. But I don't remember how long. I don't remember the intensity. Almost 20 years before she got it passed for it to be a holiday. But she did that. She did that. Yes.
Yes.
So all her husband did, and then she took the torch and she did that. No, I'm not going to work today. No. Why?
I'm taking a stand.
It's the principle of it all. It is the principle of it all. Why is it an option today? No. We're shutting it down. And I'm going to sit with my children. We're going to have more talks.
Yes.
About this is so important to me to discuss with children. I was a nursery teacher. Hey, children's corner people, y'all know that I used to be in the schools teaching. I let these children know on their levels what we have contributed to this country, what we have done. And so there's a whole lot going on about that right now.
Yes, and there's a whole lot not being discussed. Just like, when we were in school, there used to be, the whole Black History Month, the whole, making it a presentation and talking about prominent figures, talking about what they contributed, talking about what they did. And very little of that is happening now. So I'm like, yes, I have to supplement because they'll get 2-3 pages. Oh, a quick chapter on whatever, and then keep it moving in social studies. Never mind, this was centuries worth of struggle, centuries worth of triumph and setback. And, you know, and so we can't just brush it aside and then wonder why we're still so entrenched now.
Or minimize.
Yes.
So, but the point is, I was drawn to Coretta and her struggle and her part. Coretta. And as we know, for whatever reason, this is the year for the woman.
Word.
And so I don't know why I'm surprised that I was just led to Coretta and her story and what it was for her to let us have her husband. This is just what happened. Her children and her, they sacrificed so much. And then she could have let that go and just been like, listen, he's gone. And no, she stood for the movement, one, and two, made sure that he was honored in a proper way. What?
That's awesome. That's powerful. That's so powerful.
Super powerful. So I stand with Coretta today. Yes, I stand with Coretta today and called out.
I'm glad you had to call out, though. I'm really upset about that. But, you know.
Because my office wasn't closed and
that's how it is. So, yes.
cheers to you, Coretta.
And Martin Luther King. We celebrate you today.
We do.
Thank you all for joining us. My name is Stacey Tillman. This is
Dr. Quesada Clean Brilliant.
Dr. Quesada. And we wanted to discuss a topic which just kept coming up the last few weeks, honestly. And you know when something just, you can't bat it aside, it just keeps showing up in different places. It needs to be discussed. First, the mortality rate of pregnant women, of delivering women, right? The fact that this is still an issue because of lack of postnatal care. We are all about the prenatal care. It's a big thing. And then after the delivery, we're sent out into the world and, all right, you'll be fine. And not realizing or not, addressing the fact that most of the issues, most of people dying happens in that post care where there are no nurses and doctors coming to check up on you. There's nobody calling and saying, hey, how are you feeling? None of that.
And I didn't really realize how much I know. Listen, I did my dissertation on postpartum depression. I know what goes on in the postpartum period. Right. I'm very clear on that. I just wasn't aware. Really, I think I was trying to ignore just how many deaths and the disparity is what I didn't know. I think so, a little bit.
Driving me crazy. Go ahead.
I didn't really realize that it was so different for African American women. Not much of a difference. We're trying to fight with this lighting. It's out of our face. I think that might be a little better. No, where you had it. A little, yeah. That's the best for our face, for shining in our eyes. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Right?
All right, we're here. So we really didn't realize. I read this article that I posted earlier in the group a couple of weeks ago, and it was one. I tend to try to ignore the news and push out all of the negativity and. Because honestly, sometimes the news is very overwhelming and very just, all of life is going to crap.
Shambles.
And that's what it's, promoting fear, promoting violence. And this is all you see, 24/7 news.
We don't want to stay in that stress.
Exactly. So I tend to not watch it often. But this article kept showing up and I was just like, all right, let me read this. Let me, take some time and sit and understand what her story was. And there's so many key points in that article.
Ladies, we have to get it to you. So sit back, relax, get your coffee. Let's go.
Basically. And honestly, after you watch this, if you haven't read the article, take time and read her
the
story.
article.
read about this woman. She passed away last year. I believe it was three weeks after giving birth. And
Not your typical, didn't have access to insurance. I mean, you know that show about pregnant and you didn't know or whatever?
Yes.
She knew she was pregnant. She planned the pregnancy.
No. Hey, to each his own.
It wasn't that either. Their babies be coming out just
Yeah,
fine.
chilling. I'm like, wow.
So it wasn't that story of she was on welfare and she didn't make all. But meanwhile, I think if you're on welfare, you get a lot more attention. A lot of times, you have to come in for your appointments, or you don't get your. And then there's a lot of stuff in place,
Mandatory
for that.
follow-ups
Yes.
and things like that.
Yeah. But
Not it doesn't solidify quality of care.
Girl.
It just says you're getting some kind of care.
Listen, they see that Medicaid come up on their list, they're like, what? How can I help you? It's real. It's real. I went to a doctor and I was so sick. I'm pregnant. I kept saying I'm pregnant, and he just was like, go down. And so he's not even looking at me, and he's writing the thing. I said, you sure I can take this? I'm pregnant. First pregnancy. You sure I can take? He's like, wait, what? You said you're pregnant? I said it like 5 times and told the people in the front before I went in, and he was just like, oh, you're pregnant? So what are you doing here? That's how he spoke to me.
Wow. So some key things that I wanted to highlight from this article that just honestly hit home for me. She's had a couple of experiences with, and is it from both perspectives? Is it from your own care as well as dealing care? Mm-hmm. Being in that, healthcare sort of field. So this woman, Shalon Irvings, she wasn't, like she said, your typical, stereotypical, she didn't have medical insurance. She didn't have access to healthcare. No, she had all of these things in place. She was well educated. She had just gotten her PhD. She was working with the CDC, actually promoting, doing her investigations on why
Such a disparity.
there is such a disparity for Black women's healthcare versus our white counterparts. Mm-hmm. And she was also looking into how environment adds a certain element to whether we should be considered high risk. Mm-hmm. And she was actively researching that, and then she now had to experience it not only with her family history, but with her own health care. She had her birthing plan. She had so many things in place. She was,
a single mother,
but comfortable. It's not like she was struggling. She was highly paid, things like that. And
Did
then
you artificial insemination?
No, she had a boyfriend, but their relationship fell apart.
Oh yes.
And so she found herself pregnant, and now she was so happy to be pregnant.
Yes.
So she was just like, no, I'm having this baby. She put her support system together, her mother, her close friends, her network, and, had her birthing plan. She even had the school she wanted her child to go to.
Montessori.
Yes. Like, she had these plans, but there are so many things that she didn't know. For example, one key highlight was she didn't have a after pregnancy plan. She didn't have a post-care plan. And I'm like,
you're
who
supposed
does?
to have a post-care plan?
Exactly.
Well, I didn't
either.
Had 2 children. How many did you have?
know. Yeah, 3.
Ah.
And with each pregnancy, I learned something new. Like, I walk away like, I'm doing this different. I'm doing this, and this different. This is not happening again. Like, I come out of them like so adamant. I'm ready for the next one. It's going to be different.
And something else.
Yeah, so I'm still working on that. So her story is mainly that, okay, she had the baby and then she had to have C-section because she had a history of fibroids and had prior surgeries before.
Yes.
And so after leaving the hospital, a week after leaving the hospital...
they were concerned about scar tissue, so scheduled a C-section.
Yes. A week after leaving the hospital, the C-section scar becomes infected. So she's been having
that
this
issue?
pain. No.
Oh,
No.
Okay. Many of us do.
Grateful.
I didn't, thank God.
Yeah, super grateful.
Yeah.
So many complications that we don't know about.
Yes.
That can happen either on the table and after.
Yes.
That, it's shocking that there isn't more of a follow-up than, your 6-week appointment at your OB.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just supposed to sit with, if I'm in pain, it'll go away. Things like that. Like these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she goes back. She gets treated for that. But she's still having pain. She's still having pain that keeps her up at night. Not this new baby keeping her up at night. Pain in her abdomen. As well as she notices swelling.
In her legs.
Yeah. So, okay. 1 week infection. The next week that was treated. Another week, she's now swelling. She's now gaining weight when she should be losing weight.
Right. She's like retaining the water.
Yes. Her abdomen's swelling up. One of her legs is bigger than the other. What is happening with this woman? She follows up again. They're like, I don't know. You're not showing any of the signs.
They send a nurse to her home.
Oh, yeah.
And no, before that, she bumps into her doctor. She goes to the hospital. They're like, you're fine. Then she bumps into her doctor. And she's like, she drained some of the fluid and stuff because she was all getting pussy and infected. Drains it. But also her blood pressure was
So then the nurse that they send finds that her blood pressure had spiked, and then says, okay, you have to go in. They send her in, and then the hospital sends her back out. Like, what is happening? The fact that all of these symptoms, and she now has a blood pressure. They treat her with, here's some blood pressure medication. You're not showing any other signs. You can go home. What? So here is a situation where she is speaking up. She is calling. She is going to appointments. She is saying something is not right with my body. You are not listening to me. And they're still like, no, you're not showing any other signs. You're not, like, why can't you take my word for it? Something isn't right. And then that same night that they sent her home with that high blood pressure and whatever, because they didn't wait till it got down, they just sent her home, she collapses and loses consciousness and never regains consciousness. Yes, she dies. Leaving behind her first child. Thankfully, her mother is able to care for her child, and so my prayers and well wishes are with that grandmother who now has to raise her granddaughter by herself.
Her story is a representative of what's happening to women all over in America, not in a third world country where there's a lack of proper medical care.
Yep. So let's really get into these nuts and bolts, because we're like, okay, everybody's like, okay, there is that risk of something bad happening either on the table or after, the risk of death with delivery.
Yes.
That is really not spoken of. Like, yeah, everybody knows, but it's like, it won't happen to me. It's brushed off. We're okay. The mortality rate in general for birth, like, should be non-existent, but it's I think it's
in a country like America,
it's like 1 in every 1,000 women, just a general number. And then for minorities, I think Latino minorities, it's like 2 in every 1,000. For Black women, it's 10 in every 1,000. So it's literally, like, when they went into the numbers, it's 3 times more. Each year, Black women are more likely to die from childbirth than any other race.
And these numbers are increasing, not decreasing.
It's super upsetting. So just hearing that, just reading that, just digesting that information, first of all, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I survived. I'm grateful with the hiccups that I had, that was all that I had. I lived. My kids are healthy. I'm healthy. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it gets you to really stop and think, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Anything could have happened at any point.
Yes.
And
I mean, you know that.
No.
But you don't really take that in.
Yeah. And so, but then it's also so upsetting to me. It's so upsetting because I remembered my second pregnancy, I'd switched my OB because I felt unheard. I felt like she wasn't listening to me. she would be in and out of my well checkup visits while I was pregnant. Honestly, 5 minutes. Any questions? Oh, okay, good. All right, see you next month. And I'm like, give me a second to process. I'm pulling out my notebook because I'm trying to be ready. I'm writing questions ahead of time. And she's like, oh, you're fine. No? Okay. And I switched doctors, and then I went to this other one, and they were just even worse than her. So I went back to, like, this was my second pregnancy. And I was just searching already to find somewhere that I felt comfortable entrusting myself, entrusting my child, entrusting this process to you as the healthcare provider, because you are supposed to be the expert in this. You know, not controlled by the medical insurance plan, not controlled by what prescription drug deal or anything that you're going to push my way. Not controlled by any of that. Me. And so I did not feel that in any of those instances in my second pregnancy. And, you know, I ended up going back, and I ended up, again, I shared this earlier in the week, that I had a emergency C-section. And that was never, I made it adamantly clear, do whatever, I don't want a C-section. And in that one, it was like, oh, you're past 20 hours, so that's too long. Why? Is the baby okay? Yeah, but it's running dangerous times. No, or your shift is coming to an end. Like, which one is it? You know what I mean? And so I felt very, very rushed by my doctor. And I was like, I'm not doing this next time around. Next time around, I'm going to figure this out. And next time around happened sooner than I had planned to have everything in place. So I ended up with the same doctor. And then I, again, ended up searching, trying to switch to trying to find a birthing center. And at that time, my insurance didn't cover a birthing center or a doula or any of the things that I wanted for myself. So I wrote up this intricate birth plan that I'm like, I'm doing this alone. Please leave me alone. I don't want a lot of strangers in my room. I don't want, you know, because I know myself. I need to have a safe space to feel comfortable, you know, since you're telling me that I can't stay at home. Otherwise, I would have stayed at home. And I did for a very long time. And then they called me and found me. So I was doing a lot of, like, just leave me alone, and they wouldn't. And even then, it was just, like, again, another emergency C-section after 20-something hours. And, you know, feeling, again, not heard. For example, I remember this distinct moment. I'm now during the process of emergency C-section, and I'm asking the
anesthesiologist.
Yes, to tell me what's happening, to, like, because I just see him frantically doing stuff. I'm like, what is happening? What are you doing to me? I feel cold liquids happening. What's happening? And then he yells at me, and he's like, relax, I'm trying to save your life. And I'm like, okay, let's just stop for 1 second.
I want you to, let's not take for granted, for the women out there who have had a C-section, you already have to really work on keeping your brain together because you are strapped.
Yeah. Like that.
I mean, my God.
Yep.
I thought I was going to have a panic attack.
Yep.
Like, it's freezing. You're in the operating room.
I'm freezing.
It's freezing. You're rushing. It's an emergency situation. There's so much going on. You don't know what is happening. And then the way they strap you down, like, you have to keep talking yourself down from having a sincere panic attack because you just feel so vulnerable, so out of control, literally.
Yeah.
You are strapped.
You're
For those
at
of
the
you who don't know,
mercies of...
You're all of a sudden rolled in and you're strapped, laid out like this, and cannot move, cannot do anything. It is one of the scariest situations you could ever be in. And so when I hear women say, oh, we had a C-section, that was an easy route, clearly they have no idea. No idea. You're scared to death. Most of us have not had any type of surgery prior to this emergency situation where you're bringing a life into the world. It's insanity.
It's scary. It's beyond scary. Husband there or not, you're terrified. And so you're at the mercies.
Stop. Husband isn't brought in your husband's over there scared to death because he's putting on whatever they telling him to do, put on his, protective gear. You're rolled in by yourself.
Yes, I was by
initially.
Myself. Yep.
They prep you, then he comes in. It is the scariest. It is one of the scary, and we brush past these things that we go through and just like, well, whatever, it's what we have to do.
Yep.
It is insane.
It's scary.
And that's before the complications. Before he's yelling at her.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So all of that. And one of the reasons I didn't want to have anesthesia in general was because I had a reaction to it. I knew I had a reaction to it, even though they're like, this is what everybody does. You get a, what is that called? Epidural, and you're fine. And I was just like, no, I act weird after, so I'm not gonna. It literally puts me out, makes me throw up. Like I'm not functioning right. So I was like, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't like the way I feel on it. It's not good. And then my body just stops. Like,
there's no C-section without an epidural.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm saying what led to the emergency.
It does happen to some people, which is hard.
was that moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. They're like, yeah, just get some rest. And I'm like, and they're like, no, it'll be fine. And then you'll deliver. Before he was able to even remove the needle from the epidural, everything fell apart. Like, I was still sitting like this, and they're like, the baby's heart rate fell. Your blood pressure is doing whatever. Okay, we're gonna have to now. Like, okay, but I said this, and you're like talking me into it.
Oh, so you got an epidural just to ease your pain and get you through, not in preparation for the C-section initially. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah. So I'm like, if I had just...
So you were not screaming for an epidural like I was?
No.
You were not screaming for an epidural?
I was
And they
like,
gave it to you anyway?
I was like, no, I think... And they're like, no, you know what? Just get through these last... Like, honestly, talked me into it. And I was like, well, you're right. You're in that moment. Like,
and you're exhausted.
Yeah, 20-something hours, I'm tired. So they're like, all right, go ahead. Why not? And before I could even sit back down, move anything, they're like, okay, something happened. We're going to reel you in and just take the baby. I'm like, okay. So, going against my best laid plans and my initial idea about it and trusting others with my body. And I learned that. So I'm just like, all right, it is what it is. The after part is like, nobody knows how they're supposed to be. Think of your first child. The whole thing is a brand new experience. And then they send you home with this new baby to care for, and your body, honestly, in shambles. Like, it feels like loose paper. Like, you just... like, everything is loose, and like I'm hoping this all goes back totogether,
especially after a C-section.
Oh my god!
And you just trying to go through the moment. What, breastfeed? Okay, well, all right. Like, but you're like a zombie.
Yeah, and then there's no in place plan, so it's like they set aside this follow up with your OB 6 weeks out, and there were pains.
6 weeks.
There were pains. There were rushes of emotion. That you're not sure if this is normal. Am I experiencing postpartum depression? I don't know. They say you cry a lot. I don't know.
I just had surgery. I guess I'm supposed to be in pain.
No idea. Just no idea about what is normal. What you should be feeling. What you should be experiencing. It's scary that this is not in place. So it's like, all right. With that lacking, now that's lacking in our system, in our medical care, you now have to then prep. You have to then speak up. You have to then be the one harassing your doctor, and they're going to get annoyed that you're calling just to check again. Hey, is this normal? Am I okay? Should I come in? Let me just come in just to be certain.
So what is turning out to be very clear for specifically Black women is that we already just go through life with this chronic stress that we always talk about on this show. We just, as a woman, you have your stressors. And then as a Black woman, we just seem to have inherently these stressors. So
what you're talking about is they term it as weathering.
yes.
Right? Our cells, our system are being weathered, worn out more so than our white counterparts, than even other races, because we are experiencing higher levels of stress on a day-to-day basis because of experiencing racial biases in society.
Yes.
Whatever it is, we're going about our day, whether it be at a regular shopping excursion and somehow we're getting tailed around the store, or God forbid we're driving somewhere and happen to get pulled over.
And this is internally and externally.
Yeah, because these are fears that we have.
Yes.
Fears, and then they do manifest sometimes.
Right.
So it's like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like,
so you are driving in your car and you get pulled over by the police. Your reaction can be very different than the white woman driving down the car and getting pulled over. You're thinking, your brain starts going, your heart,
Yep.
You start fight or flight. And she's just like, what ticket, what's happening now, So this is the disparity. So you having these chronic thoughts internally, externally, constantly exacerbates any other problem that comes on top of that.
That's a key point that they made. So they're like, for example, we all know that in the medical pregnancy thing, they're like 35 that you're considered high risk.
Mm-hmm.
This doctor actually noted that for Black women, our high risk might be at 25.
Yeah.
Because we've been experiencing weathering from childhood. Like we are honestly programmed, very conditioned, not only by our families for safety reasons,
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen this,
Mm-hmm.
society, and it stems back from slavery. It's from generations upon generations teaching our kids and
Their kids.
yeah,
Kids,
how to act,
Yeah.
what to expect, and we are honestly trying to think 10 steps ahead.
Yes.
For self-preservation.
Yes. Self-preservation.
Whether it's at work, we're taught to work harder to get the same level of pay and respect as our white counterpart. We're taught to subdue our emotions. We're taught to keep quiet and not complain, grin and bear it. These are things we're taught and conditioned, whether it be by our family as well as society, because when we do complain, they're like, oh,
she's so loud and she's one of those. And so you either loud and brash about it because you're not going to get me, or you try to subdue yourself. Or you just try to you know what, I'm going to get the brownie points. I'm just going to be the nice Black girl. They're not going to talk about me today. And either way, you have all these stressors running through you. And that's before your high blood pressure, before you got to the doctor and had this baby, and then there were complications. So now your complications are exasperated. Because it's on top of your chronic stress that you're not even really aware of.
I know.
You're just living your life.
And this is our environment. This is where we are. We have to live in this day and age in America or in wherever. And these are in place in society. So it's like, how do we counteract this? How do we play safely in this arena? Because this is where we are, right?
How do we stay alive?
I'm mad I laughed at that. But
How
it's so
do
true.
we stay alive? And this is the real to real. How do we stay alive? I don't even know how else to say it. We are literally fighting for our lives because we are minimizing our own pain and our own. All right. So my ectopic pregnancy story, which I probably said already. I was at work and I started, feeling weird. I was like, something, I'm not feeling right. I don't know what it is. I just went into the bathroom, but I wasn't bleeding. So I said, as long as I'm not bleeding, I guess I'm fine. It was, it was very early. It's Prince, like maybe the second month or something like that. It's very early. Maybe the third month. Very early. Like second month. 10 weeks, something like that. So I go to the bathroom. Should I stay in the bathroom for like hours? Not even really cognizant of how long. Like my legs are going dead. Don't know what I'm waiting to happen in the bathroom.
What?
But yes, I had someone else take over my class, and I'm just like in the bathroom because like I'm I'm getting these pains. I'm like, I'm gonna have a bowel movement and I'll be fine. I don't know, something's not right. Eventually, I go in, I come out, I go in, I come out. Eventually, I think I spoke to my mother, my grandmother, like, get a ginger ale. Get a ginger ale.
Oh man.
And you should be okay. Warm ginger ale. It has to be warm. And you should be okay. I get the ginger ale. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna go home. My father says he'll take me home. I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna relax because I don't really know what's going on. I mean, you're pregnant, right? There's got to be something going on with you at some point. So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna make some bush tea. That's the next healer.
Mm-hmm. We know how to
And I'm
medicate
gonna
and
lay
heal
down.
ourselves. Come on.
And I'm gonna just be fine. As he's driving me to the hospital, he notices I went to the back seat. I'm like, I just want to lay down. And he's noticing that every like bump in the road, I'm like, oh. He was like, okay, no. I don't know what this is, but you're going to the hospital. Because why are you screaming over every little bump in the road? By the time I try to get out of the car, I can't like walk. Wow. They have to bring out a wheelchair for me. In my head, I'm still like, it's some little.
Oh my god.
We'll see when we get there, right?
Wow, it's nothing.
Go to the emergency room. They like taking other people. I sign in, blah, blah, blah. This man, clearly he was an angel, was like, why are you calling other people and not her? Like, we're taking it according to severity. In rates of severity. He was like, how do you know she's not severe? Because my father went to park the car. This is Brooklyn. You have to park the car. My father went to park the car. And he's like, she's in a wheelchair. Like, I don't know this man from a nothing. When I tell you, the Lord will bring you who you need.
Wow. Because you
I'm
wasn't
like,
speaking up.
I'm sitting. I was like,
Time.
oh, wait. It's the emergency room. You're supposed to wait, right? She was like, there's nothing wrong. She could wait.
Wow.
The man was like, yes. The man was like, no, I think you should take her. She's in a wheelchair. Eventually, he's making enough noise in there. I'm just like, huh? Thank you. We'll take her next. I'm like out of it.
Out
like,
of it.
Whatever.
Wow.
Finally, I go in. She takes the pressure of the cuff. She takes the pressure. And she's like, something must be wrong with this one. She goes. She gets a manual one. She's like, She's like, what? It can't. I see him. I say, oh, something's wrong, right? I know, because I'm not feeling well. She makes a call. She was like, miss, and then I see her like, she starts she goes on the, like, whatever code, and it's like, you're going to come in the back with us. I'm like, oh, the back? All right. Wow. Last time my father's there, they roll me in. They're like, can you get up on the bed? I can't even, thank God there was still some firemen, people who had brought someone else in. They were able to help pick me up and put me on the bed because I couldn't even not know. I'm like shutting down. My body is shutting down, but I didn't know that at the time. They put me up on there and they're like, sit back, sit back. I'm like, miss, I told you like this pain. I can't really sit back. Eventually, they try to push me down. I was like, miss, I will fight you. I'm still trying to fight you. I will fight you. I told you there's only certain movements I can make. Give me a second and I will
Oh my god.
Yes. So now I start seeing suits. When you start seeing the white men in suits come down, there's a problem. This ain't no like the regular nurse and not like these people are coming from upstairs.
Yeah.
They start coming down, and the people with suits. Like, where's your scrubs? Where's your scrubs at?
Just called him out of his office.
Why are you talking? What's happening? Why all the important people say, what's going on? I'm like, what's happening? And they're trying, we're trying to check. They can't get blood. We can't get nothing. I'm like, they can't get nothing from me. They trying, they fighting, we trying to get blood, trying to get jewelry off, sir, I don't really know what's going on, but will I be able to have children again? This man turned around and was like, miss, I'm trying to save your life. This is what's happening here. I was like,
Gosh.
oh, I just thought I needed to get some tea and go home.
I'm done.
And because I wasn't screaming and bawling in the emergency room,
She was about to bypass you.
I would have died in the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And if my father would have thought like this, I don't know what's really going on. If he would have took me home, I would have died in my house because my husband was not there. He was away. I would have died in my house. And let me just lay down and go to sleep. And I would have slept forever. Because
That's terrible.
we are not taking these pains seriously. We are conditioned just be like, it ain't, it's how much could it be? Go to the doctor for what? They're not going to do nothing.
Yes, we expect that, number one.
And we don't know our bodies, not really taking time to know our bodies. And at that point, I really didn't know anything because I didn't know what you're supposed to feel like when you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my family, like, there's no bleeding. I'm not screaming and bawling all over the place. I'm able to talk, but my body, I was bleeding internally.
Wow.
And that's what was happening. By the time I got there, by the time they finished with me, I had lost so much blood. I lost an ovary. I was done. It was a very intense surgery. But I could have gone home and not go there.
Wow.
Even in the emergency room, I was being looked over.
Of course.
So when I read the article and Serena Williams can say that she felt like she wasn't heard, this $1 million, she wasn't sitting down in no emergency room. She was like, I don't feel right. I think you need to give me a CAT scan. Listen to Dr. Will. I would be the doctor today. And that's what we have to be, the doctor and the advocates for ourselves. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, but this is our reality and this is what it is.
Yep.
This is what it is. And it's like, if just Serena, Serena is in top-notch medical situation. She ain't no copay. She don't got no HMO. She don't got... No. She has whatever she needs at her disposal. But I'm sure she wasn't screaming up in pain. But she spoke up for herself and she insisted. And because she's Serena is why I believe they even took her into consideration. Like, okay, you know what you got to do to get a CAT scan? You know what you got to do to get an MRI? It's like you got to give your left, like, I need an MRI. And they're just like, tomorrow, next day, whatever. You don't really need it. We have to do this, and this first. If that would happen, she had blood clots. Well, she would have died.
Mm-hmm. No, but the Serena, as well as the Shalon Irving story, points out something that's so paramount to the Black experience is that many of these, we talk about institutionalized, racial biases and things like that are in place. For example, you can't treat each race the same. Like, that is clear. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be like, cookie cutter, you should be displaying these symptoms for it to be this diagnosis. No, each person's experience is subjective, is different. and now that is being that has become apparent, I believe that there are more doctors that are either specializing or have more well-versed, diverse experience to be able to treat women of color as well as other patients. But the Serena Williams experience is just showing that there's really no level, because I think it's a belief that people have. Okay, if I escape poverty, if I educate myself well enough, if I move to different social classes,
yes,
then I'll escape the racism that is in society. And there is no
institutionalized.
There's really no escaping it. We've learned to navigate it as best we can. So expecting it to just disappear is unrealistic. But being aware of yourself, your body, knowing that you have to be your advocate wherever you are. That's why we're like, speak out. Break that conditioning that so many of us have. We have, West Indian parents, so it was a more conditioning.
Even more.
Because we were taught, levels of respect that you have to respect your elders. You have to respect those in authority. Even if they're wrong, you can't say they're wrong. Like, you have to. And just grin and bear it and be quiet and look presentable.
Yes.
Like, all of these things that we were just conditioned to have.
Just swallow it. You'll be fine. We that's what we do. And we survive. But do we just want to survive, or do we want to live more abundantly? And as we can see, many of us are not surviving. We're not surviving. More than half of maternal deaths occur during the postpartum period. More than half. We're dying. At home.
Yeah.
Saying we're good. It's okay.
Our babies and
people like, you need help. You need, no, I'm fine. Because I don't want people to think that I'm weak. I don't want people to think that I'm going crazy. Something's wrong with me. They're going to take my kids away. I don't want people to think, my mother had 5 of us and she did it by herself. And I'm over here complaining about my one. I don't want them to, say something's wrong with me. Or, it's ridiculous. There was they were saying that Black women are 2 times more likely to get postpartum depression than white women. And it's so funny because when you're in your Black circle, they're like, postpartum depression, that's a white woman's thing. They got time to complain. They got time they got their husbands. They could do all of that. I got to get up and go to work. So I don't have time to complain. It's a lie. We're suffering.
And we're less likely to get treatment.
And we're way less likely to get treatment. So if a white woman is more likely to say, I need help, good for her. Good for her.
Yep. There's no shame in it.
Most of the research, Black women are so ashamed because we have to be strong. We have to be strong. I don't know what's wrong with y'all complaining. We were giving birth on these cotton fields and we just dropped these babies and kept on working. Wait, what?
Really? When you say that?
And we're not doing that anymore.
And we shouldn't have had to have done that. Ever. That's not a natural thing to ask somebody to have to experience. That was traumatic. That was almost torture. Like, really.
Yes, we had to be really strong at one point in time. But we don't have to anymore. And I know it's very difficult because it's like woven into our DNA. But we have to make these changes.
And that is where we are. That is the reality of where we are. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for hearing us out this morning. I definitely want to hear your experiences with your births, with your aftercare.
One more thing.
We're going to continue.
When we feel disrespected by our doctors, it doesn't mean you're not going to go to another doctor, not another appointment. You're like, I ain't going there. He ain't listening to me anyway. And I get that. And like
I've done that.
I've left appointments. I cried all the way home and went back and cried again. Like I just not feeling heard. Like they looking, They're not even looking at you. They're not even. Sometimes it's very difficult for me in my practice to take notes because I don't want people to feel like they're not being heard. But I make it clear, like I'm just trying to take down notes so I can but I'm listening to you. But you feel unheard. So, but it's not an excuse to not go to the doctors and get help and find a doctor that you feel more comfortable with. It's not easy. It's going to take work, but it's worth it than to just stay home and die.
Huge point. Huge point. And like I shared, I've left doctors. I've mid prenatal care, have everything. I'm like, I'm switching over here, and then I'm switching back, and I'm searching for what my insurance covers versus what it doesn't. Which, mind you, there's so much that needs to be covered that isn't. But we keep asking for it more. It's just like mental health is now being covered. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Because that wasn't covered for years, and it was so expensive and so out of reach.
You only get 10 visits, and
But now more and more is being covered because, like she said, we need it. Yes. We're asking for it, and we're dying because of lack of it. So
if it's being offered, you need to accept it.
Use it.
You need to do the work, and it's work. It is work, and it's not fair. But you deserve it. You deserve to find proper health care. It's out there. It's just to find it.
Yep. So that is what we want to leave you with today.
Was exhausting.
Yes. Speak up. Speak out.
Show up.
Show up to those appointments. Keep searching for doctors. If one doesn't feel right, find another one. Keep pushing for your health. You, like she said, you deserve it. You're worth it. Even if somebody doesn't value as much as your worth, go somewhere that does value you. Come on. It's out there. Don't get stuck thinking that it's not out there. It's out there. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we definitely want to hear your stories. And honestly, we may have to continue this next week.
Yes.
We love you guys.
MLK Day. Buy black.
Yes.
Buy black.
Whole other topic.
www.shopbbnyc.com. But yes, that is a whole nother topic. But on this MLK Day, teach your kids and buy black.
All right. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Enjoy this day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Mercy triumphs over judgment.